Dead Rails is the biggest game on Roblox right now, amassing regularly over 1 million concurrent players and featuring loads of unique enemies, locations, and in particular, weapons. Weapons of which that can be really good, pretty mid, or just flat out bad. So in today's video, I'd like to make an updated weapon tier list, since we've gotten a lot of changes to the game, including new weapons since the last one that I made. And also, I got some information wrong in the video and missed a couple of weapons. Anyway, all the information that I got in this video was from the Dead Rails wiki, so if something's a little bit off, blame them, not me. So without further ado, let's get right into the video, of course after I tell you that we're well on our way to 300,000 subscribers, and I'd love if we could hit that by the end of the year. So hey, if you end up enjoying the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Sweet, video time. We'll start first with the melees, and what better melee to start with than the shovel, the bare bones first weapon that you'll ever use in this game. And well, it's exactly what you'd expect for a default weapon. It's pretty terrible, requiring 5 hits to kill regular zombies and a lot more for anything more difficult, which is kind of a theme amongst the melees in the current game. They're just honestly kind of cheeks. You can also mine ore with the shovel that you find along the tracks. However, you'd be forgiven if you thought that it couldn't, because it takes 40 freaking hits. Oh my god. At least it's a free weapon. Very much deserving of a D tier on the list. The pickaxe has very quickly become an incredible weapon. While sadly featuring identical stats to the aforementioned shovel, it has a very unique feature in that you can use it to mine ores in just 2 hits, which if you're somebody who takes their time with their Dead Rails runs, it's a great way to get some extra money and fuel on top of that. It's a direct upgrade over the stock shovel, and it comes free with the miner class. However, it can be found fairly commonly in general stores, including the one by the spawn, and is fairly cheap to buy. Despite its horrible damage and swing speed, its ability to mine ores makes it, I think, a pretty alright B tier of a weapon. The Tomahawk is a weapon, and it's one that I missed in my last video too, mostly because I didn't feel like farming for it and I figured that it was going to be the same as the shovel, but it's actually not though. It's worse. Somehow. Well, not entirely worse. You see, it does less damage than any other melee. Lovely. But it has a slightly faster swing speed. Something that I honestly wouldn't much care to notice since, again, melees are just kind of trash. But hey, it's a thing, I guess. Honestly, I don't think the swing speed is fast enough to really make that much of a difference over the other melee options. So I gotta go with C tier on this one. The Cavalry Sword, while being one that I forgot in my last tier list, is a melee that actually doesn't completely suck, at least by our current standards, requiring just 4 hits to kill enemies compared to all of the others mentioned before. Plus, having a faster swing speed, being sometimes purchasable from general stores, this is definitely a better option whenever it comes to melees and is worthwhile to take if you find it, though maybe less so to buy. There's not much more to say about it other than I think that it's also a B tier, at least against other melees. The Jade Sword is the newest weapon added to the game and features a lot of similar stats to the Cavalry Sword, in particular its ability to 4-shot kill and its swing speed. However, it does have another bonus, that being it can revive the dead. Yes, the Jade Sword allows you to reincarnate dead corpses, at least if you're beating them with the Jade Sword. They'll become your friends and fight for you. Not a great way to make friends in real life, I might add, but it's only a 50% chance though. It's honestly, again, one of the better melee options. Realistically, probably the best melee option that's currently in the game, though that honestly isn't saying much. Overall, the Jade Sword is pretty good, and it does have a really fun way of unlocking it, kind of being more of an Easter egg than it is just a random item that you find. Again, being the best melee may not mean all too much, but compared to the others, I think it's an A tier. Sadly, we do return to the slower swing speed and damage with the Vampire Knife, however, with a couple of trade-offs. Since much like the Jade Sword, this melee has a special feature in that it has what's called lifesteal, aka healing from beating enemies with it. Now, this feature isn't all that useful. It does only heal for 5 HP per hit, and I assure you that the enemies are going to do far more damage to you than that in the amount of time that it takes for you to hit them. But it's a better option than some of the other melees. Where this weapon does truly shine, though, is the fact that it is a default weapon for the Vampire class, and it complements it actually super well with its faster movement speed and increased melee damage. On its own though, the Vampire Knife can be sold for $100. Kind of worth it. 5 hits to kill though is kind of a lot, and really it only being useful on the Vampire class I think kind of drags it to maybe about an A tier as well, maybe a B tier. For the first time ever, I'm gonna have to go with in between A and B. On to the guns now, in particular the pistols, where we're going to be starting out with just the base Revolver. It's the first pistol or even the first gun that most people will probably get, since you can buy it from any gunsmith for just $35, or it could just be easily found by any abandoned gunsmiths or sheriff's offices in towns, or in just random buildings alongside the tracks. It does do 30 damage per hit, making it a 4-shot to the body, or a 2-shot to the head with its extra headshot damage, at least to the zombies. It does have a pretty decent fire rate as well, and a pretty fast reload. It actually has the fastest fire rate in the game as far far as I can tell, at least out of any of the semi-auto weapons. Accuracy isn't the greatest, but it's cheap, easily accessible, gets the job done, and though it may be a bit higher on the list than you would pick, I'm gonna have to say it's an S tier. It's just all around a great weapon, and is never a bad option to have as another weapon in your hotbar. Though a lot of that cannot be said about the Navy Revolver. Now, it is one of the best looking weapons in the game, sure, plus it does have a good bit more damage than the base Revolver, but it does only half of the damage per second, meaning that the base Revolver, while using more ammo, it kills a lot faster. Plus, the base Revolver seems to be a bit more common in my experience. The Navy Revolver just doesn't feel like it carries the same weight as the base one, and maybe it's a bit harsh of me to say, but I just gotta go with B tier on this one. A little bit too slow, damage trade-off, combined with the fire rate just isn't worth it. Can the Mauser C96 make up for the last one? Kind of. This weapon is a whole different weapon as far as the pistols go. It gives you slightly more damage than the Revolver, letting you 3-shot kill or 2-shot headshot zombies at least, with just a slightly slower fire rate. Accuracy is still fairly poor. It can be found in almost all the same locations as the other two pistols, but it can also be a starter weapon if you buy the pistol Game Pass. Say what you will about that, but that is a way that it is obtained. Otherwise, it's fine, it's decent, it fits well as an A-tier pistol in my opinion. For our last pistol, the Electrocutioner. Now this, while looking like the Gmod tool gun, is super powerful, but I never bothered to really get it anymore. You see, the Electrocutioner just may be one of the best weapons in the entire game, and especially for a newer player, it can be a really big part in beating Nikola Tesla for the first time, of which you'll have to fight in order to get this weapon in the first place. Because this is yet another weapon that you have to get from basically an Easter egg, where you fight a massive, annoying wave of lab zombies. You'll see this huge flash in the middle of the Tesla lab, and bam, a free lightning pistol thing. You'll just have to deal with the boss later on in the game. It literally just shoots lightning down from the sky and does a ton of damage, and it can be reloaded as well by either getting hit by lightning with like a lightning rod or something, or just throwing holy water on it, a weapon of which we'll talk about later, and bam, more ammo. It's super cool, really fun to use, super rare with just the one location, albeit though a pretty annoying way of unlocking it. But its damage and usefulness drags it to, in my opinion, a solid S tier weapon. The rifle is the standard for any run, being just as accessible as the Revolver, with being able to be found in the wild and for sale at any gunsmith, albeit with a slightly higher price than like any other equipable weapon. It 2 shots to the body and 1 shots to the head against zombies, and really shreds through some of the larger enemies in the game. And finally, we get some solid accuracy with it as well, easily being able to snipe any enemy, and also the reload button can be spammed on it, letting you effectively never have to actually reload. It looks great, sounds great, frankly, is all around great and well deserving of another S tier weapon in my opinion. But we have another rifle. Is it going to be any good? If you didn't see my last tier list, I made a lot of people angry by putting the bolt action fairly low on the list. And it's mostly because of the fact that it does everything the regular rifle does, just kind of worse. Less body damage, slower reload speed, slower firing speed, and technically it's less common since it can't be purchased. And though it doesn't matter as much, it has 1 less round, but with the reload spamming mechanic thing, that metric doesn't really matter. Credit where it's due though, it does have slightly more headshot damage than the base rifle, but not by much. And it does have slightly better accuracy, but again, not by much. And considering the range that these weapons are effective out to, the accuracy difference is not noticeable, honestly. It's a good weapon, just kind of inferior to the base rifle in almost every single way. Good? Sure, but not nearly as good as the rifle, so I kind of want it to be put again between A and B. Not bad, just not as good as the regular rifle, and 10 out of 10 times, the regular rifle should be your go-to over this. Moving on to the shotguns, we've also got the shotgun. More accurately, though not named, the Winchester 1897. One of my favorite guns in real life. And look, I even made a really cool low poly model for it with working action and shells. Cool, right? Anyway, it's a great weapon. Honestly, it could be just about the best weapon in the game. Again, easily found or bought from gunsmiths. It's really not that expensive. It's just $50. Ammo's also cheap and is easily found and absolutely shreds anything that comes close to you. It honestly has some better range on it than I had thought before. I don't know if that was changed, or maybe it's just due to sheer incompetence that I don't remember. I'm not known for having much of that. It can also be spam reloaded like the previous 2 rifles. I honestly just kind of use it more than I do the regular rifles anyway. Maybe that's a me problem, or maybe it's just a better weapon. Who knows, but what I do know is that this is definitely an S tier weapon. The sawed-off is both a terrible weapon from a Call of Duty game that came out before probably most of you watching were even born. That's one way to announce my undeniable UNC status. And it's also a really decent weapon in Dead Rails, boasting absolutely massive damage all around, though at the cost of worse range, or technically worse bullet spread. It's a bit more rare than the regular shotgun, for similar reasons to the bolt action and the Mauser, where it can't be bought at shops. And while I do think that the regular shotgun is a bit more of a go-to for me, the sawed-off technically looks like it does more damage, but I tend to just not really use it as much if I've already got a regular shotgun. I hope I'm not giving too many A tiers here. It's really good. I don't want to pick S tier too much here. People get mad when I do that. Now, we finished with all of the regular equipable guns, and we're moving on to the more unique weapons of the game, the throwables. In saying that though, technically the Crucifix is less of a throwable and more of a touchable. Feel free to leave your unhinged comments about my choice of words in the comments section below. But yes, the Crucifix is a golden weapon that is found exclusively in churches, and deals a ton of damage with a huge beam of lightning, up to 420 damage in fact. Nice. It's enough damage to kill anything below werewolf, so any zombie variants or vampire is toast. Quite literally, in fact, toast. It's super rare, though it's not hard to find since you just gotta locate a church in a town and get lucky that it does spawn, though you can spawn with 2 of them as the priest class. But in practice, it's a fun way to deal with town clearing a little bit if you're more daring than I. The main issue though that I have is you can't put this in your hotbar. You have to keep it in your sack. Drop it on the ground and hold it in front of an enemy while they're running towards you. Sadly, I'm gonna have to go with B tier though, just because of its rarity, and it's a fairly risky way to play. I know the threats against my life are mounting in the comments as we speak. Also found in churches only, holy water. Now this does sell for a little bit less than the Crucifix does, but has the potential to do a lot more damage, and isn't nearly as risky to use since it can be held in your hotbar and can be actually thrown. It also does continuous damage in an area, and I find it to be more effective than other notable throwable weapons that we'll talk about soon. However, once again, it's super rare, and typically I find it more useful to just sell, just to spare my skin from being torn off my body. I'll go between A and B again. It's great, but honestly, it's just hard to get a lot of them, and their usefulness is fairly limited considering the small AoE. You can also get 2 of these if you spawn with the priest class as well. So hey, that's cool. The Molotov is a weapon that frequent viewers of this channel will know that I cannot stand. By the way, if you are a frequent viewer of this channel and have yet to do so, make sure that you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all the latest and greatest Dead Rails content. And even if you aren't a frequent viewer, get subscribed so that you can become one. Thanks, guys. Love you. But yeah, Molotovs, I don't like them. No, it's not the weapon itself that's bad. Frankly, if you can get a good few of them going, you have a lot of shredding power. Even more so than I had thought until I forced myself to main them. That was a video and a half. They aren't inherently a bad weapon though, and given enough time of rounding up zombies in like a town or something, they can be a solid way to just clear out a whole area. The main issue that I have with these though is the price, because it's $35 for 1 Molotov. For the cost of 2 Molotovs, you can buy a shotgun plus ammo and have some money left over. Or you could buy a pistol with a whole bunch of ammo. I wouldn't even say that these are good to use in a panic, since they really like to take their sweet time getting some damage in. And according to at least you guys in the comments, damage does not stack if you have multiple thrown in one spot. Are they okay to use if you find them? Go for it, man. More power to you. But I don't think that they are a worthwhile buy, and even if you play the Arsonist class to double your fire damage and spawn with some Molotovs, it's not nearly enough damage to compensate for the outrageous financial barrier of entry. If they were cheaper, they'd be higher on the list, but for now, C tier is where they're going. And now we'll finish off the throwables with yet another not really throwable weapon, the Dynamite. Its usefulness as a damage dealing weapon is a lot less useful than you would imagine, but it does have a lot of other purposes like breaking into certain locations or cracking open bank vaults. It is a very limited use case item, I would say, and not a very effective weapon itself. You can blow up your friends with it if you want or something. Though I'd say as like a weapon itself, it's probably got to be about a C tier. Now, there's also a few mountable weapons in the game, weapons that you have to sit on to use, and they're pretty good. I mean, obviously, we'll start out with the first one that everybody knows, the Maxim Gun. Now, this weapon, I've got a few opinions about. Some great, some less great, but I'll say overall that it is a fun, useful weapon that can tank through some enemies and works really well in multiplayer. Okay, all right, let me explain before you tear me in half. The Maxim Gun is great, but mostly in multiplayer, and that's just because in general, it's something that you kind of have to be mounted on to use, and if you're playing solo, you can't just drive the train while mounted onto a Maxim Gun at the same time. A whole lot of yap later. Let me say this, it's great in multiplayer, but borderline useless in solo, or has a lot fewer situations where it's applicable. At least you can find them fairly easily, and ammo isn't expensive for them. If you like using them solo, great. I would just say don't buy it. Wait until you find one because they're fairly common. I'll go with between A and B tier again just to not have my head ripped off, but multiplayer is where you want to use this. And lastly, before we get into some honorable mentions, the last mountable currently in the game weapon is going to be the cannon. Now, I do have a lot of the same feelings about the cannon as I do the Maxim Gun. Great in multiplayer, but a little bit less useful in solo. However, it does have a bit of a larger use case since it's got a lot higher damage. And dude, I mean, it's a cannon, come on. As of a recent update as well, cannonballs can be bought in general stores, so you can get more than the original 12 that it spawned with before. So that's good. I mean, the cannon itself is still pretty rare, only being obtained by the one safe room thing in the military base once a game. Though despite its rarity and kind of limited use case, at least in solo, it does big damage within an area, and it can be a pretty decent help. I'd say it also can be a bit more useful in solo play because of the fact that, for one, there's some of them mounted in the military base, and after you kill Captain Prescott, these reinforcements come out, and it's a great help for dealing with these guys on horseback. And also, at the very end, whenever you're fighting the boss again, it's great to be able to jump into it, fire off a shot, and jump off while it's reloading and fire at the boss with something else. It's just some dumb fun. I think it's a solid A tier. But how are the honorable mentions going to be rated? Let's find out. The first honorable mention is going to be Barbed Wire. While not a direct weapon that you can mount or equip, it's, to me, the best armor in the entire game, making enemies fall and take damage whenever they try to walk through it and get to you on your train. Plus, it's fairly cheap at just $20 a pop, and while it does degrade over time, only letting you do so much damage before the pieces break, whenever you've got a nice big quantity of them on your train, they are extremely helpful. Plus, post-shop update, it's a lot more common to find these now, and it's easier than it's ever been to armor your train a ton. S tier, all day, any day. Wolves can be tamed with corpses and, of course, put into your sack, allowing them to be deployed and recovered at any time to act as either a great distraction or to help you beat enemies that you encounter. Wolves are plentiful, though they do low damage and can be kind of annoying to tame if there's a lot of them because they start to dance with each other and now you have no idea who's who. Again, B tier is fair to me. The Strange Mask, or as everyone just calls it, the Jade Mask, is very much stretching the term of weapon, as it does the same exact thing as the Jade Sword, though instead of turning enemies into your friends by beating them, it revives corpses of already dead enemies so that they fight for you. And sure, while they do drop the mask upon death, it's not super practical of a weapon. Yes, I know you'll say, oh, well just put it on Nikola Tesla, make him your friend, and then he'll beat everything. And sure, you can do that, but by the time that you beat him, no one else is alive. So unless they extend the end of the game, which I think they very much should, it's a very case-specific weapon and honestly kind of worthy of, I think, C tier. Honestly, just sell it. Ugh, okay, that's the tier list. Woohoo, we made it. We're done. I'm so happy. No, honestly, this was super fun taking the time to really try out each weapon in the game and give each of them a fair shake. I hope we get more weapons in the near future and maybe some tweaks to the melees. Honestly, I think they should all be like double the damage that they currently are to make them practical. But what do you think? What's your favorite weapon in Dead Rails? And what do you think about my tier list? Was I right about everything? Do you want to throw me in the industrial potato peeler? Let me know that and all of your angry thoughts in the comment section below. Big thanks to all the channel members up on screen right now. You guys are absolutely amazing, fantastic people. And if you want to support the channel, just like they do that little bit extra, you can do so with the join button on my channel or the link in the description below. Otherwise, make sure to at least hit that subscribe button, maybe the like button too, because it helps out a lot more than you'd think. And of course, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Peace, dudes.